Hey guys, Squatch Reloading here. Today we are going to kick off the 9 series on the Dillon XL750. And in this video is going to be kind of the intro to the series. And we are going to go over everything that you need to set up your Dillon XL750 to run 9mm. Now this press is already set up on 223. So we're going to do a complete teardown, set up our caliber conversion, set up each of our dies, set up our case feeder adjustments, and then what equipment that we need, what materials that we need, and basically the whole gamut of what is needed to run 9mm on our Dillon XL750. So stick around, I'm going to start going through the items one by one. So here we go. Alright guys, so we're going to go through a list of all the items that we need to reload 9mm. And since we're using the Dillon XL750, there's a couple things that are Dillon specific that you absolutely need to run 9mm on this press. So the first thing that you're going to need is a caliber conversion kit. So inside this caliber conversion kit, you know, the main items are your case feeder, conversion parts, right here, and we're going to get in more detail in these when we do the conversion. Shell plate, almost dropped it. The other items that we're going to need for our case feeder, we're going to need a small pistol plate for our case feeder. Also Dillon specific is a Dillon tool head for the XL650 or 750. Both presses use the exact same tool head. The other thing that we're going to use is a Dillon powder measure here, and you'll need a powder die to go along with that. We'll get into more details when we get that set up. Alright guys, so I just went through what you need that is Dillon specific to the XL750, and some of you are probably wondering, well, why aren't you talking about the Dillon dies? Well, we are going to use the Dillon 9mm carbide die set in this series. However, you do not need to use Dillon dies. Dillon dies work really well in the Dillon presses. However, I mean, I've used Redding, Lee, Hornady, I've used all their dies in Dillon presses with no issues. The only things that you may find is that you might need to get a little creative where you place your lock ring. I know, for example, when I'm running the Lee factory crimp die, at least the version that I have to put the lock ring on the bottom of the tool head. Not a big deal, there's plenty of room down there. It's just a little unorthodox because we're used to putting the lock ring on top, but not a big deal. So you don't necessarily need a Dillon die set. We are going to need a way to orientate the primers to get them in the primer system of this press. We're going to use Dillon primer pickup tubes, and these are going to be ones with the yellow tip. These are specific for small primers. We're going to use a flip tray. This one is a Dillon, but you do not need a Dillon flip tray, but we're going to use that in this series. We also need a way to measure our cartridge. So the first thing that I'm going to use is a Dillon case gauge, and there is other manufacturers out there for case gauges. You do not need a Dillon. Ellie Wilson, Lyman actually makes a good line of case gauges. Hornady, I use them all. Also, we're going to need a way to confirm our case overall length, so a good set of calipers. You know, sometimes guys get hung up on name brand of calipers. You know, they think they need a Starrett caliper or a Mitutoyo caliper, and honestly guys, the only reason I have a Starrett set of calipers is when I was taking machining in college. This was part of the equipment that they give us, so that's why I have these. But anyways, enough about that. So we're also going to need a way to measure our charge weights, at least verify them periodically. And in this series, we are going to use the Dillon Determinator scale. Again, do not need a Dillon scale. It's just one I happen to have, and I wanted to use it for this series. But any good quality digital scale work. There's Frankford Arsenal, Hornady, they all, and I believe Lyman also has a small portable electronic scale that you can use, just as good. Or a beam scale. If you got an RCBS M500, great scale to use. I actually have one over there, but we're going to use this one for this series. you know, aside from all of the hard side equipment, you know, we're going to need some reference material. So we're going to have, you know, this is what we're going to use. Good load manual there for 9mm. And that's about it for reloading. Now, some things that are optional I'm going to cover next. So there is one item that is specific to the Dillon presses, and it's specific to the XL650, 750, 1050, 1100, etc. And it's this. It's a Dillon powder sensor, or a powder cob. And what I suggest, especially if the Dillon is your first press, maybe consider picking this up. And the reason being is this press is auto-indexing. So if you're not disciplined or develop that discipline to fully stroke the press, if there's an issue, you know, for example, if you know your cartridge wasn't aligned or there was a 380 mixed in there, and when you brought the ram up, you know, it stopped, or it fell over or something, and you know, finishing that stroke up to complete your powder drop, or if you don't know and you drop the shell plate down to clear the failure, what you don't realize is that your shell plate has indexed, and if it hasn't completed a powder charge, there'll be a missed charge. So new guys starting out, and maybe some of you guys that are seasoned, you know, stand behind this and that you feel that you need it, and that's fine. But you know, if this is your first press and you're just getting into progressive reloading, it's not a bad thing to have. You definitely don't need it. I use it on these videos, and I'll use it if I'm, you know, showing new people how to reload. But normally I don't really mess with it, because you know, I'm disciplined to stroke the press up and down as it's supposed to be, and if there's failures, I either clear the shell plate or that I finish the stroke, you know, the direction that it was going. So, but again, optional, but I wanted to cover that separately from the rest of the items. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up this video. This is the intro to the Dillon XL750, the 9 series. And in this video, we covered kind of a comprehensive list of things that you're going to need to reload 9mm, some of which are going to be specific to the Dillon XL750. In our next video, what we're going to do is we're going to cover a complete teardown of this press. Currently, it's set up on 223, so we're going to start at the case feeder, work our way down to the shell plate, and get everything set to run 9mm. So that's what's coming up. If you guys have any questions, hit me up, squatchreloading@gmail.com. You can find me over at Facebook and Instagram at squatchreloading. Please, if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell for notifications so you can stay up to date with what we got coming up next. If you want to support the channel, you can find us at patreon.com/squatchreloading. There'll be a link in the description below. But until next time, guys, God bless.